Hey guys, what's good? In this video we're gonna... What, what the hell are you doing? No, stop it! What the hell? The reality is that most of us, including me, feel like our attention span is smaller than ever. But here's the thing, we need our focus back. Whether it's for work, for studying, or just having a normal conversation without checking our phone every 5 seconds. So in this video I'm actually gonna show you 4 simple steps how you can fix your attention span to once and for all get your focus and concentration back to finally get stuff done. And trust me, it is way easier than you actually think. But whoa, hold on a second. My statistics show me that 50% of people actually click off the video after 30 seconds. But trust me and do yourself a favor and wait at least until tip number 2, because there I will show you a simple method how you can actually lower the burdens and make it much easier to get started with working or studying, and making it way easier to focus for a long period of time. And after tip number 2, do whatever you want. But now let's get started. So in this video we actually want to tap into a phenomenon from neuroscience called neuroplasticity, which actually simply means that everything regarding your brain and the activities you do in your everyday life follows the same pattern. Use it or lose it. That means if you never focus and concentrate at all and really give up and actually think that you're not able to do this, then your brain will actually get weaker and weaker. But if you then try your best and actually engage in activities that somehow stimulate your focus and your attention span, then you will actually get better in these areas. Because in neuroscience they say neurons that fire together, wire together, which simply means that hope is not lost for our TikTok generation, but it means that if we actually try our best and engage in these activities for repeated times, then we will actually get better at this. So the first point is actually... What was I saying? Exactly. Before we can actually start talking about how you can actually focus better, we need to understand what is actually hindering us from focusing in our everyday life. And I want to give you a simple example that actually showcases pretty well why it is sometimes so hard to actually just sit down and focus. So imagine, for example, a woman called Sarah. Sarah really wants to lose weight, and this is her first week and she gives her best to actually achieve that. So she hops on a diet, she cuts out all junk food, she counts calories, she has a huge calorie deficit, she exercises every day, gets her 10,000 steps a day, and so on. She started on Monday and now it's Friday. The initial motivation is slowly fading, she's a bit tired, she's a bit lightheaded because she isn't eating enough for the whole week, and she's actually hanging out with her friends and they're all going to a restaurant. The waitress comes and all of Sarah's friends actually start to say what they actually want to order. One orders a pizza, one orders burgers, another one kebab, and now the turn comes to Sarah, and although she actually wanted to stick to her diet and came in with the motivation just to order a salad, all the smells around her and the temptations of her friends ordering pizza, fries and burgers were too much of a sensation, and she actually gave up for this evening and said, well, okay, it's only tonight, I'm gonna order a burger as well. There are now 2 questions that actually arise from this. How could this have been avoided, and what the hell does this have to do with your concentration? Sarah had all the right intentions. She had plenty of motivation in the beginning of the week, she had a plan how she could actually accomplish this, she gave so much effort to actually lose that weight, but after all of this effort in the evening at the restaurant, she actually broke her diet because she was tempted. So maybe let's change the example, and it's now about you. You really want to get something done, be it for work or be it for uni, for school, whatever. Let's just say you have to finish a project and get some huge amount of writing done. So you wanted to make extra sure that you get this thing done today. So you packed all your things the night prior to that, you woke up early in the morning, you headed straight to a coffee shop or a library, opened your laptop, put on your noise cancelling headphones, and you think like, yes, I'm finally in a productive place without any distractions. You open your laptop, ping, 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 ping. Then your phone buzzes and you get a message. You gotta quickly reply and then you head straight to work again and work for a couple of minutes when you finally get bored and open YouTube for some minutes and just scroll a bit what's new in your home feed. After that, you really try to continue working again, and then you get another notification. You continue to work for a bit, but then maybe it gets boring or too hard for you again and you switch to another task you have also to do this day. And what happens is that although you really wanted to be productive this day, you sat there for hours but actually got nothing done at all because you were distracted all the time. Our devices can have the power to do so many amazing things, like watching this YouTube video right now, but they also have the power to distract us and destroy our focus completely. If you're struggling with your attention span or with your focus and really want to get stuff done, then you can can't, like Sarah, just rely on your motivation and your willpower, but you actually have to cut out the negative distractions, like sitting in a restaurant when you're actually super hungry, or working on devices with dozens of notifications when you actually just want to focus. You have to cut out all those negative influences around you to actually get the stuff done. And some of the best things that work for me this way are the following. Turn off all notifications, both on your phone but also on your computer, because when you're sitting down to work and when you want to actually get stuff done, then you're really in the same position as Sarah. Sarah in this example was hungry. She actually wanted to stick to her diet, but it was so hard because there were all of these temptations around her, the smells, what her friends were ordering, etc, etc, which is why she was tempted and she actually broke her diet. The same goes for you. When you're in a spot where you really want to concentrate, you're sitting down at your desk, you open your computer, you're really focused, and especially you have lots of pressure on your mind because you really have to get that thing done, then your mind is actually in the same position Sarah was in, because your mind really wants to do something else at that moment. Your mind doesn't want to concentrate on such a boring task like writing an essay or getting work done, but it rather wants some dopamine and actually wants to be entertained at every occasion that occurs. And every push notification, every message, every call, every buzzing of your phone will actually distract you and get the focus off your work to another place. And your mind is so glad actually that it can be distracted, because it really does not want to do the work. Your mind will seize every opportunity it has to do something else, and with every disruption that is happening around you, a phenomenon called mental fatigue actually occurs, which means that it gets, every time you focus and defocus, it gets harder to focus again on the task that is actually at your hand. So do yourself a favor, turn off all notifications, go in do not disturb mode, and ideally work without internet, or don't even bring your phone with you when you want to actually get stuff done. There's several great additional apps that you can actually use, like for example Cold Turkey, which is like a phenomenal app you can install on your computer or also on your phone, but I'm not sure whether it's still in the App Store, where it will basically block out everything on your device except the task you actually want to do. So for example, when you have to write an essay, you can make an exception for Microsoft Word and let the program block everything else on your computer. And the crazy thing is, this works so well that I sometimes did this and set, for example, a timer for 40 minutes, and I realized that there's nothing I could do to actually stop this program. My computer was literally blocked. Other great apps, if you're, for example, someone like me that struggles with distractions on your browser, like when I have to get some things to do, I will always go on social media or go on YouTube or read the news. You can download specific browser extensions that will actually block certain websites. So every time you actually want to go to the website to distract yourself, it will say, sorry, not today, go back to your work. So, and the same actually applies to the environment you're physically in as well. So if you work from home, some people like it, some people don't like it. For some people it's just a bit distracting because all their usual household things are around them, all the family members are around them, all their activities to procrastinate are around them. So they would be better off to actually go somewhere else if they have the opportunity. For example, a coffee shop, a library, co-working space if you can afford it. So you manage to cut out all the distractions around you, and now the only thing left is you and the task you have to do. But the question now is, where do I start? What should I do first? What is the most important thing I should do? Maybe I should do this first, or maybe this other task. I don't know, let me write a to-do list. Okay, I have to do this, that. Where do I start? Does this sound familiar? Overload and too much stress can actually destroy your focus as well, because if you have too much on your shoulders and there's so much pressure on you, you really don't know where to start, what you should do first. And this sometimes really stresses me out because I want to be productive. I don't want to waste my time, but at the same time I'm not sure whether I'm doing the right thing in the right moment. And the best antidote to this is to actually structure your assignments in the first place properly. And instead of going into work or starting your day without a clear action plan, you should actually have a crystal clear plan in the first place so that you can start right away and don't have to worry about whether the thing you're doing at the moment is actually the right thing. And the best method I know that helped me a lot is to focus on the one thing. What's that? Well, at any given moment, you should actually always ask you, what is the most important one thing? Not 10 things, one thing that I can accomplish right now at this moment. Let's say, for example, you're a student. You have lots of things to do in your everyday life. So for example, you got to study for 3 exams next week, you got to do some household chores, you have to prepare a birthday gift for your friend in 2 weeks and whatnot. And this situation is really tempting to actually focus on the wrong thing in the wrong moment, because most people will think, yeah, maybe I'm gonna think about the present for my friend first so that I don't have the pressure, and maybe I should go and do the household chores first so that I can start my actual assignment without all this heavy load on my shoulders. And this is often really the wrong way to approach it. Although you think you're taking off all this weight from your shoulders, you're actually wasting your precious focus, especially early in the morning, on things that are actually not important in this current moment right now in this hour. Things you could actually do later without any problem, but that you do instead because it feels nicer, it feels somehow more urgent, and so you can avoid what you're actually supposed to do. Because in this example, the most important thing would actually be to study for exams next week, because this will make or break your career in this moment. Because you actually have more time for all of these things later in the day or in the week, but the most important thing you can do right now in this moment is to actually study for the exams next week. That means that for now you identify that the one thing, the most important thing is to actually study for exams. But then you have the same questions again. Let's say, for example, you have like 3 courses that you have where you have to do the exam next week. Let's say accounting, finance, and I don't know, law. Most people are really tempted to start with the subject they know best and that they are most comfortable with, because this is no pressure, this is no stress, and this is almost a bit of fun and easy to do. So for example, you paid lots of attention in accounting and finance, and you're really tempted to start with that. But actually, if you have, for example, only 1 hour of studying, then spending your time and your efforts on your actual weak point would give you the most bang for your buck, so to speak. So starting with the subject that you're actually weakest at, in this example, for example, law, would give you the most reward. So this is actually the one thing in this current moment. No matter what you have to do, you always ask what is the most important thing in this current moment, and do this cognitive method step by step until you found the task you have to work on right now. But there are several problems that could actually occur here. Even if I structure my task like that, how can I fit everything into my day? Besides that, I can't just force myself to start working. This list seems so intimidating. I really wanted to do something else. I can't focus for hours and hours on end because my mind actually shuts off after a few minutes or a few hours. I really feel like I need to take a break, but when I take a break, I feel really guilty because I actually should work. But if I don't take breaks, then I'm really unproductive. I got you. Because there's actually one method that actually prevents all of these problems from occurring. Most of you probably have a kitchen timer. Because a really effective way to actually just get started working is to use the Pomodoro technique, which is Italian for tomato, because these kitchen timers usually back then were formed like a tomato. And how this method works is you actually just sit down, open the task in front of you that you have to do, and then set this kitchen timer for 25 minutes. And the magic here is that all you have to do, that when you really don't want to focus, is that you convince yourself, all right, I'm just gonna work for 25 minutes. You set the timer for 25 minutes, don't have any expectations, you don't think about the thousands of things you have to do, because each and everyone can actually convince ourselves to just work for 25 minutes. By doing that, you have a really high chance to actually get into the groove, get into the flow, start working without the pressure, without feeling you cannot concentrate. And most likely before you will even think about quitting again, you are actually at the end of your 25 minutes. And usually what most people then will do is to take a 5-minute break. Because here's the thing, no matter what you see on the internet, all those crazy streamers that stream and work for 8 hours on end, that for example 8 hours study with me, that is really awesome. Huge respect for these people who actually do something like this, but the idea for actually productively working or studying for 8 hours straight is total bullshit, because our brains simply don't work that way. Some say it's 25 minutes, some say it's 45 minutes, or others say it's 90 minutes. This is most likely very individual. But the common theme here is that our brains and our minds are only able to focus for so long until they eventually have to take a break. And you will take this break even if you don't want to, because most people that actually force themselves yourself to work for hours and hours on end will actually always dip into a little phase of unproductivity where they will maybe scroll a bit or stare at the screen, stare at the page without doing much. It is a break for your mind, so to say. So the best thing to prevent this is actually to regularly take breaks again. After 25 minutes of working or studying, you take a 5-minute break, do whatever you want, and then get right back into it and start another 25-minute cycle again. And you do this for about 4 times until you eventually, this is just what most people do, take a bit longer break and then start all over again. This method is really fantastic for me because it lowers the burden to actually get started. You take regular breaks and don't feel like you're doing this soul-crushing task for hours on end, but in fact you know that you're taking enough breaks. And because the only goal in these 25-minute increments is to actually work or study, not to achieve or tick off a certain task, again it gets way easier to actually get started working. And at the end of the day, if you then realize that you've actually doing like 8 or 16 Pomodoro cycles, which means you have studied for 4 hours straight, for example, and you realize if there's something left in your to-do list, that this was something unrealistic in the first place, because you've been actually really productively been working or studying the whole time, so you can better plan for the next day. So imagine you're betting on a horse in a horse race. I know, super realistic example. And imagine there are 2 horses. One horse is super well taken care of. It sleeps enough, it only eats high quality food, it has an awesome life, it gets massages every day. This horse is absolutely healthy and in the best shape ever. Whereas the other horse is the complete opposite. The only thing it eats is trash from the trash can. It doesn't sleep at all. This horse barely moves at all in its everyday life and whatnot. I think you get the gist. My question here is, on which horse would you actually bet your money? I think it's quite obvious. If you were to bet your money, it would be so obvious on which horse you would bet. Of course, because the well taken care of horse is so much likelier to have a better performance in the race than the other one. But the question that arises is that why don't people apply this knowledge to mental work, getting work or studying done as well? Because the reality is that if you would ask most people, the answer would always be quite the same. Most people would say like, yes, if I were to train for a marathon, for a weightlifting competition, for a bicycle race, then of course I would try my best to sleep enough, to eat as healthy as possible, to move, to recover enough, to move enough, quit all those stupid unhealthy habits. But when it comes to studying, come on, doesn't really matter. Yesterday I've been binge drinking, now I'm totally hungover. I've been eating junk food all week, have a screen time of 8 hours a day. But nah, I think it's rather due to my lack of motivation that I can't focus. If you want to excel in whichever area of your life, you have to really take good care of yourself. Not only physical performance, but mental performance, like studying or doing other work as well. Because your mind and your ability to focus is just as like any other part of your body linked to your overall health status. If you're healthy, feel great and really take well care of yourself, then you will have such an easier time to actually study, to focus, to pay attention to things compared to a situation where you really feel shitty. And this is a topic for a whole nother video. I actually made 2 ones. You can click on the info card here. There's one I made on how you can actually feel better without exercising. There's one how you can simply eat healthier. But the gist is actually that you want to make sure that you really sleep enough and yet you have a really good quality of sleep. Besides that, think about the quality of food you're eating. It is by now very clear in science, highly processed food that is really high in sugar will really destroy your ability to focus. So opt for healthy foods that are really low in refined sugar. Besides that, alcohol and smoking are actually good for nothing. So think twice about that. And also, wait a second, coffee break. Drink coffee, for example, too late in the day, or too much coffee or caffeine, because this counts for energy drinks as well, can maybe help you in the morning to wake up faster and feel better in the morning and concentrate better. But if you do this too late in the day and too much, then this will really create brain fog and destroy your ability to focus. So if you watched this far and apply all of these steps, then you really actually have come a long way and you should be in a way better position to actually pay attention, focus on the task you're given, etc. And now we want to talk about the cherry on top, and that is to actually train your ability in the first place to concentrate for a longer period of time. You're actually by now familiar with one method how you can do this, and that is the Pomodoro technique. that we mentioned earlier. Because the thing is, the more you actually practice to study or work in these 25-minute increments, the better you will actually get. The keyword here is neuroplasticity, use it or lose it. If you actually practice working, studying for 25 minutes at a time, all the time, then this will after a while get so easy for you to actually do this in the first place. So what we want to do is to actually practice in our everyday life to prolong our focus, to prolong our attention span to the desired time we actually want to focus or be able to focus in the first place. Now, I think I can't give you per se a manual how you can do this in your everyday life, but I rather want to give you some inspiration, what things you can actually do to increase your attention span by really trying to focus more on your everyday life. For example, no shame, but this is just the way it is. So many people, me as well some years ago, and many other people around us included, have a problem with TikTok, with Instagram Reels, with Shorts. Because there's this bite-sized, short, entertaining content, and you can just scroll and scroll and scroll and be entertained for hours. If all you do is to watch YouTube Shorts or TikToks, for example, and you cannot concentrate on things longer than that, then really try to maybe switch to long-form YouTube videos instead. This will be super boring in the first place and you really want to click off this video after some seconds, but if you really get into the habit of watching YouTube videos that are 10, that are 15, that are 20 minutes long and really watch until the end, if you do this for a couple of days or weeks, I promise you, your attention span will increase. And if you take this a step further or actually already watch only YouTube videos or maybe no shorts, then maybe take this a step further and watch, for example, documentaries or whole movies, whatever you prefer, in a time range of 60 or 120 minutes at a time. Maybe not at work, but like rather at the end of the day. This is something I've been struggling with recently because I really got out of the habit of watching movies because this got just so boring after 20 minutes and I really had to practice this again. Now it works fine. If you do this in your everyday life again for a couple of weeks, and then you have the ability to focus for 60 or 120 minutes, which is actually more than enough for most people. And other potential ways are, for example, if you're listening to a lot of music, for example, and on Spotify you're always skipping through all the songs, listening 10 seconds of it and then going to the next. Maybe try to listen to the whole track instead. From start to finish, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever. Listen to the whole thing instead of skipping all around all the time. And if you want to take that even a step further, then maybe start listening to whole playlists or whole albums at a time. It's all about avoiding situations where we are always skipping things after a few seconds if it gets too boring, but practicing to pay attention. And the reality is that our phones are just made to suck up our attention, and basically everything on our phones is distracting and is also addicting, which is why I made a specific video called How I Reduced my screen time by 80%, where I actually explained dozens of methods and tips how you can actually be less on your phone and modify the way you use your phone in your everyday life so that you're less distracted and have more time for the things that are actually important for you. So click here and watch the full video to be less addicted to your smartphone. And besides that, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, which helps so much for the algorithm for the channel in general. And just thank you so much for watching until the end, and hopefully see you next time. Bye!